Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Now Mom, I'm Gaming. My name is Kay, and in this very short episode, we'll be checking out the pre-prologue for the game Digimon Survive. That's the only thing I can think of to call it because this portion comes before the actual prologue of the game. I know I've been kind of incognito with all these podcast episodes I'm supposed to be dishing out, and I apologize. I am doing a lot of gaming in the background and mostly uploading to my other main channel. Listen, these podcast episodes take a long time. And this one is a bit different because it's a whole lot of visual novel and exploring different areas with a side of combat. I don't want to miss any parts with this game and breeze over it, so when the characters aren't being voiced, I'll step in and do the voicing. If you're simply listening to this podcast for some chill time and you don't know Japanese, then you might get a little lost on what's happening. But I'll try to do small recaps during downtime moments. I'll talk about the choices I make and my decision behind them. I might be skipping some segments in the future, but I don't know that as of right now. Another thing is this podcast scene will only appear at the start and end of an episode. And it will feature the names of my patrons as a thank you, which means you'll experience the full game as a full screen like they were intended. And I also intend to play the full game like all other games, but I'm ADD, so if I don't, just throw up your hands and yell, "There she goes again with a new game." Just remember that Patreon supporters view these videos before they're released to the public on YouTube, except for this one because it's been a long while since I tossed a video up, as well as full playthroughs instead of segments, and some naughty games if that's your thing. Anyway, the description for Digimon Survive reads as such. After getting lost on a school trip, Takuma Momozuka finds himself transported to a world inhabited by ferocious foes and new allies. Join Takuma and his friends as they fight their way back home. Craft your story in this thrilling visual novel with turn-based combat. And now, we'll get into the game. Before we get into the actual game, the title screen offers you a look at the main character we'll be playing as sitting at what looks like a school desk, and Agumon standing on a chair across from us, because he's short and wouldn't be able to look at us any other way. Aside from that, I really like the music. When we start a new game, we're introduced to a cutscene with a boy and girl, no names to them. If you're familiar with the Digimon series, which I'm going to go ahead and assume you are if there's an interest in this game, I'm just going to name them when they show up. If you're not familiar with the series, I apologize as some of this might confuse you with the names of the Digimon involved. But there are two Digimon in the scene we get, Gabumon and Renamon. I have to wonder if they chose to reveal Renamon at the start of this game because so many people liked her, mostly as a sexy female if I'm being honest. But I mean, there was a learning curve to her and Rika's relationship in the series that grew, and it made her better-than-you attitude sort of mellow out. And as seeing her at the start, it might make people want to play more of this game, just to get her as a partner or something. It's an interesting tactic, to say the least. After the scene, we get a moment's worth of a tip for playing the game that talks about orientation in battle. One of those loading screens, but this one is just there long enough for you to read the tip's title and then it's gone. It gave me whiplash almost. As soon as that disappears, we're introduced into a battle scene and it's a doozy. I don't know how I feel about games that start out way ahead of where we should be. I get it, they're trying to show us what we're going to be facing much later in the game, but that's the problem. It's much later in the game. They're bypassing the baby steps and teaching us how to run a marathon, and it's enough to make us sweat without even leaving our seat. The first thing we learn is movement. You can tell where the character is able to move due to the lit up squares in the ground. Not only that, but you can also rotate the camera, though I don't see the big deal with keeping the camera in a set position. The game forces you to move one square over, and then we get into the attacking business of things. When you choose attack, another screen with information comes up, and this is the first section that hits you hard with information. You've got the skills you're able to choose from, and depending on what skill you're highlighting, the information on it will be on the right side. The right bottom section shows the range of the skill and area. Those two things I'm a little confused on when looking at the chart, so I guess it's something we'll figure out as we play the game, as it's just too much to take in here. I mean, I get the range is how far I can go and the area's area effect, but the visual is what's confusing to me. Not only that, but there's also information on passive skill below the skills list, and I'm not sure if this is just inherent on the Digimon you're using, or if there's going to be more than one passive skill for a certain Digimon. When you choose the attack and hover over an enemy, it'll show you the estimated damage and accuracy. Though when looking for the estimated damage, at first I wasn't sure what I was looking for. It's not shown all that clearly here unless you're staring at it. There's a sliver of health at the end that's pulsating, showing how much will disappear. I kind of wish it were a different color on what amount is being taken away from the health, but it doesn't look like that's the case. And that's just looking at the stats above the enemy. At the top of the screen, you've got the elemental affinities, critical hit percent, counterattack percent, and more. It's a lot. In fact, when playing this portion, I didn't even look at the top of the screen. In order to end the turn, you just choose end turn, which is the simplest thing so far. Once your turn is ended, you can choose which way to face. Seeing as attacks hit harder from the side or the back, you'll want to try facing the enemy head on so they don't get the jump on you. Though, you know, they can still move around you if possible. Before you choose another Digimon of yours, you can choose Free Cursor, which will allow you to move the cursor around. Moving it over the enemy will show its info in the upper right, and then even more info will be shown by choosing stats. The stats will show level, experience, and experience to next level, the HP and SB, passive skill, other skills list, and their range and area of effect. Their model, physical attack and defense, special attack and defense, speed, move type, move amount, vertical movement, resilience, and more. Are you overwhelmed yet? Well, don't be, because this particular enemy doesn't show any kind of information, so that's a slight reprieve. Once we get out of that, we can continue with the battle, and at this point we'll be moving Gabumon to behind the enemy for extra damage. Instead of a normal attack, we're using a blue blaster, which will dish out more damage. The screen information is a little annoying here because Gabumon's icon beside their HP bar is blocking the number for the enemy's accuracy percent. Maybe this is where the rotation of the camera will help out, but why not just be able to move the bar over slightly? We're already doing a ton and getting a ton of information. Why make us do more? It's interesting that we find the names of the boy and girl are Haru and Miyuki, but both names remain the same as boy and girl, which is weird. Like they want us to forget their names after we see them used. Kind of a tragic end for Miyuki, but we'll come back for her later, I'm sure. I thought that would have been the prologue, but the prologue text comes up after all this happens, so this will be the pre-prologue? Not sure. And that will be the end of this podcast episode of Digimon Survive. Like I said, it's short and something of a pre-prologue. Have other games done this before? Because I don't really think I've seen something come before an actual prologue. Anyway, the second part of this gameplay review is being worked on as I release this, so it should be up soon-ish? Maybe? One can hope at least? I might throw in another review of a different game between the segments, just to keep you on your toes. And to keep me on my toes as well. But until then, don't get in too much trouble when you say, "Not now, Mom. I'm gaming."